everyone, and welcome back to my channel.
Oh no, that is what they all say when they see me pouring some wine. Oh, then gets empty again.
If you're new here, my name is Cheyenne. I am a hair and beauty professional. I do everything from special effects to nails, hair, skin, and more. So this channel is kind of devoted to everything from my lifestyle to my career throughout and in between. Be sure to subscribe and check out my future content. So in today's video, I am going in with another special effects look. This is not a part of my Halloween series. Unfortunately, that is done and over with, but special effects does have my heart. So I wanted to present to you guys an original look that I created myself. I was messing around with a couple ideas, drawing designs and everything, and I came up with this look, so I'm ready to put it on my face and show you guys how I achieve this look right here. So if you guys are ready to check it out and see how I achieve it, then let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so to get into this video, let me start off by saying that I am not going to be walking you through this look. I am actually going to be doing a murder and makeup episode today. I know this is a little bit different. I've never done anything like this before, but since my Halloween series is over, I wanted to give you guys a new kind of style video to see if you like it or not. So today we're going to be talking about this gentleman right here. His name is Henry Lee Lucas, or better known as the Confession Killer. Lucas was best known for allegedly killing hundreds of people throughout the 1960s and 70s, though after further examination, only 3, including his mother, were confirmed.
Things like, I thought I killed people, but maybe I didn't, did I?
Lucas was born on August 23rd, 1936 in Blacksburg, Virginia. He was born to a double amputee father and a mother who was a prostitute who often made Henry watch her acts with random men.
My mother was a prostitute. Sometimes I was forced to watch her.
Then, at the age of 10, in 1946, Henry had a fight with his brother, which resulted in him losing his left eye, as you can see in a lot of the pictures shown. As he moved into his teenage years, sexual deviancy began to grow, and it was said that he used to have sex with his half-brother and bodies of dead animals. Not too long after that, Henry ran away from home after he dropped out of the 6th grade. Fast forwarding a couple years to 1954, at the age of 18, Henry was arrested in Richmond, Virginia for 12 counts of burglary. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison in 1957, where he managed to escape but was soon recaptured just 3 days later. He was released in September of 1959, and then he went to Michigan to live with his mother and half-sister. So Henry and his mom are not on very good terms, but as she grows into her older years, she wants Henry to come and look after her. By 1960, in January, they were having an argument over an issue. His mom hit him over the head with a broom and made Henry furious. He then picked up a knife and stabbed her in the neck and then fled the scene. Henry only claims to remember slapping her and then seeing that she was dead and noticing he had a knife in his hand not too long after. Now, in the same year of 1960, Henry is 24 years old and he has just been arrested to serve 15 years in prison for killing his mother. However, in 1970, just 10 years after his sentence, he was released due to prison overcrowding. A year after being released, Henry runs in with the law again, attempting to kidnap 3 schoolgirls. He was then sentenced to 5 years in prison. He got married shortly after that release to a family friend who was a single mother, and then in 1977, 2 years after the marriage, his stepdaughter accused him of abusing her sexually. Following that accusation, Henry left the marriage and moved to Jacksonville, Florida. After all of this, Henry met Otis, a drifter and serial killer in Jacksonville, and they became great friends. Henry then moved in with Otis where his family lived and later met Toole's niece, Frida, aka Becky Powell. Henry had a thing for Becky and asked her to run away with him. Becky agreed and they traveled to California where they were looking after an 82-year-old woman, Kate Rich. Since Lucas was the connection between these two names, he was brought in for questioning and upon questioning slipped up and mentioned he had a warrant out for his arrest. This led to his arrest for an unlawful possession of a firearm. Henry confessed to killing Powell and Rich and took the police to the remains of the bodies. They sat down in court, and this is where he got national attention. And one of his most famous quotes, "What are we going to do about these other 100 women I killed?" So once this ball was dropped, everybody was in awe. Lucas was claiming responsibility for sprees of murders across the US committed from the 70s to the 80s, and police departments perked up because originally they had no leads on these dead-end cases. And now all of a sudden Henry Lee Lucas is claiming responsibility. Phil Ryan, the man who interviewed Henry Lee Lucas, says, quote, "It was a nightmare," quote, "It was a circus that would not leave town," end quote. The number of people Lucas claimed to have killed was constantly in a flux. As soon as he confessed to 100, it was 150, then 200, then 300, and at one point he claimed to be responsible for killing 600 people. The only people who really raised an eyebrow at this was the journalists who covered Lucas's case. As he began to piece together dates and settings of each murders, there were a lot of potholes and things that just didn't add up. But James B. Adam, the director of the Texas Department, formed the Lucas Task Force, which is where they cleared 213 unsolved murders based on Henry's confessions. Clearing 213 murders sounded just too good to be true. A perfect example is authorities took Lucas's word for a September 9th, 1975 murder in Tyler, Texas, although employment records showed that he was working at a mushroom farm in Pennsylvania that day.
He had work records and dental appointments,
speeding tickets, banking records, IOUs.
So Lucas was proving to know all of the information and details about these cases, but when it came down to it, certain times didn't add up with certain times, and distances didn't add up with certain distances. But because he had 2 murders under his belt already, the law enforcement saw him as a serial killer. Now, side note, my original hearing of Henry Lee Lucas was from an original Netflix documentary about him. I would highly, highly, highly recommend going and checking it out because it gives you such a more in-depth understanding of this case. And when I tell you that this is one of the most mind-blowing cases I've ever looked into, it literally is just ground-shaking, I promise. The reason I bring up the Netflix documentary is because it has a lot of great footage from the actual time that this was happening in. So with that footage, you're able to see how Lucas was being shown maps of crime scenes, receiving detailed information about cases that he would later then go and confess to. So naturally, Lucas is a huge hit and basically becomes a prize catch for Jim Batwell, a former Texas Ranger and the Wilson County Sheriff at the time, who had been investigating a string of murders he thought were committed by a serial killer. Jim was said to have given Lucas the most prestigious service at the jail.
And Bob Prince says, "For every case, I promised Henry a milkshake." And I thought, 6 cases, 6 murder cases.
I don't even think he spent one night in an actual cell. He had cigarettes whenever he wanted them, any kind of fizzy drink, any kind of food. Basically, he was the king of the castle.
Henry never lived so good. He ate good, he drank good, he had cigarettes more than he could smoke.
Or the prison. The worst part is that Batwell died in 1993, therefore he could not be questioned about the decisions that he made about the case. The reason we need Batwell's answers is because he was practically Lucas's right-hand man when it came to whatever he wanted and distributing secretive information about case files.
and if it's that obvious, why wasn't it obvious to the Rangers and to Sheriff Batwell?
Where he would then go and call other departments across the nation to have Lucas confess to their crimes. And it got to a point where he couldn't be in Los Angeles the same time that he was killing somebody in North Carolina. So things really were not starting to add up, and you were beginning to tell that Lucas was really there just to please law enforcement. But Jim Batwell did not mind at all. This was the most recognition their sheriff's department has ever gotten. They were on national news. They were interviewing every single day. They were bringing in, like I said, different departments from different states. Basically, they were trending.
Policemen came from all over the country and they wanted to solve cases.
How long did you talk to them? Oh, about an hour and a half. How close do you think you are to making an arrest or having a charge in either one of these cases?
Quite close.
Both or just one?
We're not allowed to discuss that.
It was an extremely mutual give and take, give and take. When Lucas talked, the police officers would give him more things. When he confessed to another murder, he could have another pack of cigarettes. It was very, very malicious. He practically became one of the detectives himself. It got to the point where they would literally let him walk around without handcuffs on and drink strawberry milkshakes.
It was like Henry was a member of the task force. He often would be on the phone, talking to officers all over the country, helping to solve their cases. It was pretty bizarre.
Everything was going super smooth, super great. Lucas was still confessing to murders, and police officers were still closing cold cases. It was practically a win-win on both sides. But as Lucas was confessing to these murders that he did not commit, there were criminals roaming free who got away with these cold cases. But you know how everything goes. It's a lot easier to just have it be said and done than to really put any effort into it. So why stop him from confessing these murders so that we can close our cases? Just keep letting the man talk. And this was pretty much the mentality of everybody, including Batwell.
My theory during my entire career has been treat people the way you'd want to be treated under the same circumstances. If I was a smoker, that's the way I'd want to be treated. And he was looking through the books that police departments sent in to the task force.
So this was kind of continuously going on for years until Lucas was finally convicted of a total 11 murders. In 1984, he was sentenced to the death penalty for the 1979 murder of an unidentified woman who was known at the time as Orange Socks. The woman was identified in 2019 as Deborah Jackson. Like many murders before this, Lucas had already confessed to the Orange Socks case, but he then recanted his decision to confess to this case.
I found out where Lucas had cashed a check the night before Orange Socks was killed. I also found work records that showed that he was on the job just hours before Orange Socks was killed, 1,100 miles away.
Then in 1998, George W. Bush took away the death penalty so Lucas would serve his whole life in prison. And that is where he did spend the rest of his life until he died from a heart attack in 2001. And though the Texas Rangers were national heroes and Henry Lee Lucas was able to live a lavish life in police custody, there were still hundreds of families out there suffering losses, all because the departments wanted to make their numbers look better. And it's really quite heart-wrenching because the Texas Rangers had no repercussions for their actions. They weren't legally obligated to solve these cases legitly or anything like that, and DNA testing was only able to resolve about 20 of the cases. So it was definitely a painful undertaking for some of the families who had to reopen that part of their lives, you know? And meanwhile, the rest of the families continue to live out in limbo with no idea of what could have happened or what actually happened. And guys, that is pretty much the story of Henry Lee Lucas. If you feel super confused, then you definitely heard everything right. This is by far one of the most mind-boggling cases out there, I feel like, just because of the back and forth. Like, literally, every time you watch the documentary, you just look back and you're like, did I miss something? When realistically, you've been watching the whole thing. It's just so back and forth that it's almost extremely difficult to follow. Since we are winding down to the end of the video, let me go ahead and give credit to my sources. I used time.com, biography.com, medium.com, and of course the Netflix documentary. And I really apologize if I did mess up any information or anything like that. I want to say that I am 100% concrete, but you know, I was not there. So I don't want to offend anybody that has any kind of connection to this case or anything like that. Hey guys, you have made it to the end of today's video. I really hope that you liked today's look and that you found this video interesting. If you want to see more looks like this, I would definitely hit that subscribe button below, and I will actually link my Halloween playlist above for you guys so that you can check out all the other SFX looks that I've been doing within the past month or so. I accidentally ordered these eyeballs off Amazon because I'm a silly goose, so I figured I might as well put them to use, FX with them, and this is the look that I came up with. So I hope that you guys thought that this was something that isn't too difficult to try at home. Here's some pictures that we got afterwards. As always, I hope that you guys liked this video. If you did, press the like button down below. And also make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell just to make sure that you are aware whenever I post a new video. Thanks for your support, guys. I really wouldn't be doing this without you guys. And be sure to leave a comment below how you feel about this look, what you thought about it, and what you would have done differently. I hope that you guys like and stick around. Bye!
Oh no, that is what they all say when they see me pouring some more. Oh, oh, think it's empty again.